Nobody has done it better and longer when it comes to high school football coverage down here than Larry Blustein, our South Florida high school football show here on WQAM and Insider for the state of Florida, joins us. Blue, it's great to have it back. I did not realize that Carroll City was going up to West Boca and maybe play one of the great games we'll see all year in game one. Were you up there at that game? What an unbelievable finish to that game.
Yeah, actually, I went to Central and Orlando Jones because I'm going to see West Boca this week, and I've seen Carroll City a bunch. But, yeah, for an exhibition game, which what I call it, and everybody always asks me, do you count these games? I says only if you win. You know, I mean, because it's an exhibition game, it's a kickoff classic, and you know, a lot of times the coaches empty their bench in the third quarter, but that wasn't the case.
No,
there.
Not that one.
They had a packed house, and and obviously, a statement was trying to be made by both teams. You have a West Boca team that, for decades and decades and decades did nothing, and over the last 4 or 5 years, they've been really one of the top programs in the state, 2-time defending state champions against a Carroll City team that obviously, hasn't done well over the last 4 or 5 years and kind of infused their roster with a lot of talent in the off season. And Coach Wallace and his team went up there with a purpose, and certainly. But now, because of that, and here's the irony of it, those two teams met in the final 7-on-7 event of the summer. It was a 305 Classic for, I believe, $10,000, for the program, and they went into 4 overtimes. So wouldn't that make sense that when they played for real, that it would pretty much be that way? But let's give a shout out to Coach Potts, who's done a great job at West Boca. That's a program that never gets any publicity, and they're 2-time defending state champions. So yeah, that was a great way to kind of get everybody's attention, because now starting tomorrow night, everything starts for real.
God.
And
hey, Blue,
and it's going to be an exciting season. And Joe, here's the thing too, and you and I discussed this over the years. I wish this team would play that team. I wish that, but you know what? It's happening now, and because programs understand that if you don't play top flight schedules, you'll never be considered for that mythical national championship.
Yeah. So we got some great ones, man. I looked at that schedule last night and wanted to have you on here because here we go. I want to ask you about Columbus going to Southridge. Both teams look like they both have good teams. Who do you like in this one to kind of get things rolling?
Yeah, Southridge lost a lot. Lost the quarterback who's now at Miami Central, lost a few other players, but their offense and defensive lines come back intact, and that's going to be the reason why they're going to make this a game. A lot of talent. They've infused their roster with a lot of really good players. I think this comes down to a 3-4 point game like it has in the past couple of years. I think Southridge is at home, but Columbus next week has Bishop Gorman and then St. Thomas and then Palmetto. So there's no margin for error here. I think Columbus wins this game because they know the next 3 weeks are going to be just crazy.
Yeah.
Because we know, Gorman's loaded every year. They'll have them in the kickoff classic. And there's nobody who comes close to St. Thomas. Not this year.
It sounds like
those rings. You can put those rings in order. I can tell you that. Right?
They're that good. They are. You're saying that much better. Third in the country. I see where they're ranked right now.
Yeah, you know what? This may be the best team that they've had since 2008 and 8. And definitely Roger Harriet's best team. And they're loaded in every way. They went up, and I know it's an exhibition game, but we were talking about West Boca and Carroll City. But they beat a Cardinal Mooney team last year that, scored all 9 times in the state championship game, returned a lot of talent. A lot of people thought that they were one of the best programs, not only in the state, but the country. And St. Thomas beat them 49-0, and it wasn't even close. And and I knew this. I could see this coming.
Yeah, you called it.
Yeah. This is just this is such a talented team, and not only that, they're a deep team. And that's the thing. And then, I saw this coming. They've won 7 straight, Joe. 7 straight state titles.
Yeah.
And I think this is the year that they can lay claim to a national championship. And all they have to do is run the gauntlet and just win it. They win every game, including the Open Division Championship. And I don't care who's voting around the country. There's no denying that this team should be the best in the nation.
All right, so West Boca is not letting up on their schedule. They're heading to Plantation to take on American Heritage Plantation. Yep. What do you expect in that one? What do we know about American Heritage Plantation? They don't usually have 60 or 70, great players, but the ones they do, small squad, but usually quality.
Yeah. You make a good point. And we don't know anything about them because of the fact that their rosters changed. They didn't play a kickoff classic last week. But they have looked, really good. They're not a deep team. We're not going to fool anybody and say that if one big-time kid like Neiman Lawrence goes down at quarterback, that they're going to be able to survive. They start the year kind of hobbled at running back. Jonathan Bueno was hurt, much of the offseason. Their offensive line kind of took the hit a couple weeks ago. They lost an offensive lineman who transferred out. So they're not a deep team.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a test. They're at home. They have a crazy schedule again because they go right to Chaminade and they have to play a lot of the top teams again. They go up to Jacksonville, play Trinity Christian later on in the end of the season. This is going to be one of those games. We'll see. I really don't know. I mean, if I had a barometer on American Heritage, from like last week and watch them and see what they did. I just think this will be one of those games that's going to go back and forth. And here's the thing, too. American Heritage doesn't usually hurt themselves with penalties and a lot of things like that. And West Boca killed themselves last week. They had almost, between the two teams, they had over 200 yards of penalties.
Ooh.
And I think that plays in the favor of Heritage. They're more disciplined, and maybe they won't make those mistakes that are going to hurt them. So that's the best I could do as far as tell you that game. I'm excited, too. There's a couple of games. We start the Broward Showcase this week. Next week, it really gets into play. But interesting game on Friday. Jacksonville Mandarin, who has a couple of, really good players, one of the best, if not the best, 2028 juniors in the country, and Bryson Wright. They're coming down with a University of Miami commitment in Knox Annis at quarterback, playing a McArthur team that really helped themselves in the offseason. Their secondary may be as good as any you're going to find. 2 University of Miami commitments in the secondary.
Wow.
They're really loaded up. I think that's a really good game. That's Friday night. That's at McArthur. That starts the Broward Showcase. And next week when we meet, we'll talk a little bit about those 2 games next Saturday, which are going to be nationally televised. That's Columbus and Gorman and St. Thomas and DeSoto of Texas. In between, Chaminade will play. We have some really good games in there.
Man, you're not kidding. Hey,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Keep going.
No, I was going to say Carroll City will have a test this week to go up to Daytona Mainland, a really good team. Coach Bell's done a tremendous job with that program. They kind of, dominate the area talent-wise. That's going to be a really good test because then Carroll City goes up to Georgia and plays one of the best teams. So I think that –
wow.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And then a couple of other games like on Friday. Well, we're going to go see Chaminade tomorrow night. They open up against Monarch. That'll be their season opener on a Thursday night. Should be could be a good test for them. Monarch's got some talent. They're big up front. Chaminade really showed on Saturday, beating Orland 40-6, and showed that they're going to be that team. They think that what happened last year was just one of those things, and they want it back, and they want 11 straight appearance in the state title game. And certainly, let's not forget about our guys at Miami Central. They're taking a trip to California this week.
How good's that Orange Lutheran team?
Well, they beat Northwestern here last year.
Okay.
They're a member of that Trinity, conference out there with Mater Dei and St. John Bosco. So, yeah, they're loaded. They're big. I don't think they're as good as last year. I got a chance to see Central, as I said last week. A team that's going to be really competitive, new quarterback, and James Perrone, who came from Southridge, very, very gifted team. They played an Orlando Jones team that was in the state finals the last 2 years. I thought Orlando Jones' defense was really good. Their offense is down at the University of Miami. Darian Coleman is not coming back to Jones. So that kind of hurt them in that game. So that's going to be a good one. And Miami Palmetto, we're going to talk a lot about them this year. I think that everybody talks about Columbus and a lot of the other larger schools. Don't sleep on Palmetto. They only got better. And remember, they came within a 2-point conversion of going to state last year. So there's some really good opening games to kind of set the table for what I think may be the most competitive and exciting season we've had.
I agree, man. We got a lot of teams. Some I got to see to believe that they're a lot better, but I know you follow the transfers, and that's a big part of this thing. No, it is. By the way, I have 2 questions for you before we let you run. Transfer portal, who got the most help with the most kids coming to school? You told me Carroll City. Did I hear West Boca and McArthur? Yes. Would those be the top 3?
West Boca got some kids. McArthur definitely got kids, but Carroll City won the off season. I think Columbus also won the off season.
Okay.
And as we know, St. Thomas wins the off season without even trying.
Right. That's a given.
You know as well as I do, Coach Roger Harry doesn't publicize the kids that he gets in, and he got some pretty good guys in there. And yeah, there's some really good football, Joe. No matter where you go, hopefully everybody will support these young men because they worked really hard. This off season was long. It was 8.5 months. So there was a lot of, events that happened, especially during the month of July when you had all those showcases and it brought a lot of the best teams together.
There's a lot of 7-on-7 has exploded with the TV coverage. Now they're getting it. It's crazy. I'm watching the teams from South Florida at 7-on-7. Hey, before I let you run, I can't let you off the hook. This is where you usually get in trouble with the schools a little bit. Give me your top 10 right now as we stand.
Yeah, St. Thomas won kind of with a bullet. I think Chaminade comes in there at second. Miami Central will give it third. Carroll City, okay, I know they had 6-5 last year, but they've really restocked. I think they come in. We're going to give West Boca because all of our listeners on 104.3 FM definitely listen to us up in the Palm Beaches. I'm going to give Heritage a nod in there because I just think on what Coach Mike Smith's been able to do, even with 4 or 5 losses, they still managed to win a state championship. I think they're going to be really, really good once they get things sorted out. I think Columbus is going to be in there. We're going to give them. I think Palmetto's right behind them.
Wow.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And I think, I'm going to tell you something, and not just because I know we have a big listenership on 71st Street, but Miami Northwestern is not going away.
You sound like before they were a little down, though. I felt like you felt they weren't Teddy Bridgewater good.
No, but you know what? This is the thing. When has Northwestern ever not had athletes? And this is
always.
Last week they opened up against Palm Beach Central, a really good team, and they beat them pretty good. And now they play St. Pete Lakewood, a smaller school, but at the same time a lot of talent on that program. But Northwestern, they have a chance. I mean, I know that they will play Central, and then they'll play, which is always a big, big game, and they'll play Carroll City. But they have a chance. They're going to make the playoffs. And I have a feeling they have an opportunity to be like 8-2 or 7-3 this year. And then like I said, and then if that happens, you never know Teddy Bridgewater coming back. You never know. I didn't say that, but I'm just saying you never know since he's out of the NFL.
I wish Teddy would come back. We got the Teddy Bridgewater rule now. Now everybody can do what Teddy was trying to do for those kids. It was ridiculous. Hey, just Northwestern and Central will play each other, though. That game's not going away.
Always.
We got to have that game at Travis Powell. That game's got to happen.
Yeah, always. And, and now with the open division, which means there's, you get the 8 best teams that'll play for their own state title. So, if a St. Thomas isn't playing for the 5A state title, it opens it up to somebody else to play for that 5A state title. And the same thing, with Venice and a lot of those other programs around the state. But, there's going to be some really good football. We'll have it for you every week. And I'm excited about this is year 56, Joe. This
I know.
is my
Damn, Blue.
year doing this, and I enjoy it as
Blue,
much
you're
as I did.
Blue, you're a machine, bro. You are.
Yeah.
You are a machine. And by the way, nobody here in South Florida likes Venice. You already knew that. We don't. They have made no friends down here. Hey, thank you. It's always great having you, Blue. Thank you.
All right, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right, man. A lot of build-up for Larry Blustein right there. Hey, it's hurricane season, and it's time to tell you about Loctite.